drivers, how the devil are you? Join me on another glorious day, and today's venue is Marple. I'm decided to a shorter walk today after yesterday's slog, although it wasn't really a slog. It was I enjoyed every minute, every step. Not quite so demanding on the calf muscles today, hopefully. Just a quick up and then a down again from Marple to Broadbottom. As I speak, I'm wandering through the huge park, which is what's it called? Grabbins Park. Grabbins Park, with play areas, ponds, woods, football pitches, huge open areas of grass, and that's only the little bit that I've explored. I'm sure it continues over there too. You can see the panoramic view of this huge place. Marple really is blessed with such a park. Marple Bridge, perhaps I should say, and I'm not sure of the distinction between the two, but there are two distinct places very close to each other. One called Marple Bridge, with the river that goes a bridge over the River Goit, and one further up into the top of the hill called Marple itself, where the canal network runs through. So here I am, and I'm going to see what the day unfolds for me. There's me singing the praises of this park, and yet this is the second bin I've passed that is completely full, to the extent that people have started popping stuff on top of it and around the outsides. Come on guys, where's your pride in your park? Second bin I've seen like that. The first one was worse. Relaxing sound of water as it cascades and bubbles and winds its way. I miss any walk where there isn't that sound at some point during it. Interestingly, this is where the River Ethero, which we can see ahead of us now, meets the River Goit and continues downstream there. Here's the Goit going up that way towards the bridge we've just come across, and if I'm right, I think they actually then merge into the River Mersey, which we were on a couple of days ago. Interesting. And this is my favourite type of river in the Pennines, or anywhere for that matter. A nice stony pebbly beach, clear running water. I'll have to check myself, because I could spend hours just looking amongst the rocks here, looking for bits of china or any other kind of treasure. Gold rings maybe, occasional coin. Quite a bit of pottery down here. Most of it just white or too big to take home. But this kind of stony, pebbly beach spit going into the river just really does appeal to me. Same as on the coast, I suppose. There's a certain element of mudlarking about me in my soul. Well, that looks interesting. There. What's that? Is that part of a pipe, maybe? Very big one, but I guess it could be part of an old pipe. Looks far too big though. Let's give her a rinse, put it in the bag. Interesting. I'll have a better look when I get home. See what else there is. Don't want to spend too long here. I've only just started to walk. Tell me if you see something. Oh, look at this. Second bit I've ever found of this, I think. A very thin bit of a pipe. I'll keep that. I've not got many of those bits. Oh, that looks interesting. What's that? That's weird. Looks like it's been shaped out of some kind of tooth or ivory maybe, but it's weird. It's quite solid. I'm going to take that home and have a look. I wonder why the holes are in it like that. They do look man-made, but I don't know. Could it be the inside of a tooth? Wow. Saber-tooth fang, maybe. It is worthwhile looking into the water sometimes. Just to see what you can get. Hours here. Look at that. That's a nice looking bottle top of some kind. Shame it's not a whole one. Little bits of pottery. I'm collecting them mostly just so that I can get bits for mosaic. That's one of my plans anyway. And make some magnificent artwork. I've been immensely inspired by Nicola White on the Thames, mudlarking on the Thames, and Northern Mudlarks, both great channels. If you're into mudlarking and rooting around for treasure, then I highly recommend them, and I'll put the links down below. Mum would love it here. In fact, the whole family would love it here. We're a family of scavengers. leave that for the next person. Well, I better drag myself away. No good staying here all day. I'm really intrigued by that. Can't wait to find out what it is. Right. Onwards and upwards, literally. I managed to drag myself away from the stony shore of the river, and now I've got to continue uphill to somewhere over there kind of direction. I'm not very good at this whole pointy thing. Up the top there kind of area is where I'm going next, and that'll be the highest we go today, and then back down the other side, following some streams and through some farmland to another river, which will be actually the Ethero, but further up the Ethero. So I've come out onto the main road now, as you can probably tell, and this lane behind me is where I've just the route I've just taken from Rabbins Park. Now, if you're following some of the guides online, which is the one that I followed the first time, you can see one of those buildings behind me used to be a Robinson's pub, and it no longer is. I got halfway up that hill before I realised that it's obviously, you can tell it's been a pub at some point in its history as we walk past, but no longer is. So this is the turning you need, and despite it saying residents only on that sign, that's the one you need to take. Well, I found some shades, give them a quick clean. Better than mine keeps just falling off all the time. So here I am, and Ethero Country Park, which is basically just two huge, great big man-made lakes that were built sometime a couple of centuries ago in order to contain some of the water from the river for the purposes of the industry that was in the area, the mills and such like that were sprouting up in the area. It's teeming with wildlife. There's obviously the Canada geese that you can see behind me, and a coot. You can tell it's a coot because it's got a white beak. They look very similar to moorhens, but they have a red beak. And the way that you can remember that is moorhens are black with a red beak. Moorhen, the word, has the letter R in it, as does red. And coots are black with a white beak, and they don't have an R in their name, so they are the other one. Barnacle geese, I think, as well. All sorts of wildfowl here. There's swans over there. I saw some teal, I think, last time, and the standard mallards that you get everywhere. It's a nice place. It's a lovely day, and it's teeming with wildlife, but also teeming with people, and that's the only thing that I don't really like about it. Is the fact that it seems to naturally attract crowds, families, all the things that I already hate from walking up and down the canals. But there's guys fishing, and plenty of paths to walk around, refreshment shop. Personally, I'm going to try and get through it as quickly as possible to the other end and away from the crowds and up into some peace and tranquility in the forest that lies awaiting at the end. Yeah, and I discovered something interesting the other day as I was walking along the canal, in fact, and on the opposite side to where most of the people go. And I came across a couple of Canada geese they've obviously made formed couples now, and are getting ready to produce offspring. And I think the pair that I came across must have already started nesting. Maybe they had eggs already, who knows. The female, it seemed, was already perched on something, whether it was she was about to have eggs, produce eggs, or had already done so, I don't know. But the male, I'm presuming it's that way around, forgive me if it's not, the male was standing in the path and wouldn't let me go past, and there was quite a standoff. He was, despite my obviously larger size, he was adamant that I wasn't going to cross his path, and that I went round, and he was hissing and barking at me, if that's the right terminology. So interesting. And also, while I was sat having my lunch by the canal, I heard quite a few of these pairs where again, I'm presuming it's the male. Please tell me below if I'm not right there, but the larger of the two, anyway, the larger of the two birds was doing the lower sound, bop, 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 of that sound, and the female presumably was doing the other one. I, up till now, thought it was the same bird making, you know, the same sound, like I'm just doing just now, yeah, bop, 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 bop. But actually it was the male bop, female bop, etc., etc. Maybe that's some kind of ritual, courting ritual or something that they get up to. Maybe they do it all the time, who knows. One of the things that worries me about places like this, I've seen quite a few people with little bags of seeds, grains and such like, feeding the birds, mostly the Canada geese that seem to come over for it. And I'm guessing, but I might be wrong, that the shop, the refreshment shop, sells bags of seed to the visitors. And you know, so the visitors have something to do feeding the birds, and you know, little kids getting involved as well. And I can see two sides to that. The first side of it is, well, fair play to you, well done for trying at least to educate people and encourage people not just to bring stale loaves of bread and feed the wild fowl. That's difficult to say, you try saying it. Feed the wild fowl chunks of bread and other carbohydrates that they're really not meant to have, because they can swell up, and vegetables with certain molds on, for example, can be highly toxic to aquatic birds, etc., etc. So on the one hand, I'm pleased that they're trying to encourage people to give them something which is better for them, but on the other hand, that must make the animals really lazy, you know, when they're almost every day of the week got people feeding them seeds and grains that they've bought from the shop, and then the ducks, etc., aren't actually eating, you know, they don't feel the need to eat any of the natural things that they would normally eat, like chewing bits of plants and vegetation and small crustaceans or whatever their diet is. So yeah, two sides to that story. You know me. Very turbulent river, despite the last few days of dry weather, racing its way down to that convergence that we saw earlier. And fueled by this amazing piece of Victorian engineering. Very impressive. It's like a man-made Switzerland. Saw this, wow, £10,000 reward for the safe return of Enzo, a dog. Don't know if it's lost or stolen. £10,000. I haven't got that much in the bank. I haven't got that much ever. If I just sold everything, not got £10,000. Wow, that's incredible. In fact, there's some people, if they got lost, I don't think I'd pay 10,000 for them. Right, upwards into the forest. Loads of wild garlic up this path, both sides. All you have to do is just pick a leaf and just take a leaf and just rub it between your fingers and then give it a bit of a smell, and obviously check it out first, you know, don't make a mistake. The leaves are very similar to some other flowers. Some of the other bulbs do produce similar looking leaves, you know, bluebells for example, but just a tiny little taste, and if it smells a little bit like garlic, tiny little nib on the end of the tongue, great natural herb for your cooking. Both sides, all the way up. Just the right time of year for that. As a side note, try not to take it right down near the path's edge if you're on a throughway in a wood or a forest, because dogs will have a tendency to piddle there. So, you know, go a bit higher up. There's some of the bushes a bit higher up where the dog's legs aren't going to be able to cock, so to speak. And don't take all of it, you know, as is the case with anything, any wild edibles. Don't take all of it, just take a bit from here, a bit from there, and leave some for everyone else and for the plants to rejuvenate. Quite how steep this path was. I obviously wasn't noticing last time. I was getting dark or something, but quite a steep drop off, and you wouldn't want to go tumbling all the way down there. You probably wouldn't stop till the bottom, followed by a wet death in the stream, but enjoyable nonetheless. Out of that wooded area now, which was very pleasant, and climbing up to the top of this hill through some farmland, which will be the highest point that we reach today, if all goes well. As you can see, we have a field over to my right here, presumably just grassland for grazing, which the farmer is leaving for animals, or maybe even it's between crops and he's just leaving it fallow for a season, who knows. But what is nice is this, what is probably quite an old footpath here between two fields, with most of the way hedges on both sides, and not just piddly little hedges either. You know, these hedges have been here for some 100 or more years, and it's nice to see, hawthorn mostly, nice to see that they're being maintained by the farmer and kept. You know, so many of our wild species, the hedgerows are all they've got left of the woodland that used to cover swathes of England. So fair play to the farmer for doing that, maintaining the footpath and keeping it open, like some disreputable farmers don't do. Keeping the hedgerow and maintaining it and keeping it in trim. And last little couple of meters up this road here, and then I'm going to show you another good thing that presumably the same farmer has done. And as I stand here to catch my breath, almost at the top of the hill, I thought it would be a nice shot just under these pylons. And you can see, just like a painting, how successive hills over into the distance just become hazier and hazier on this amazingly hot, sunny, clear day. Ah, what a joy to behold. Just the valleys cascading off into the distance. Yeah, as I was saying just now, an obviously signposted footpath, only running parallel a couple of 100 meters to the east of the other one, stile and everything else to get over. And the farmer has actually put up fences both sides, a temporary electric fence one side, but maintained the throughway. That's wonderful, wonderful to see. And he didn't need to. There's a footpath just literally 2 minutes away down the road. Nice to see, you know, nice to see it being done properly. Lovely little farmstead here just at the top of the hill. Don't know how many people live here or whether it's all one building, but very quaint. And it's only really when you get to the top, which from downstairs doesn't look particularly high sometimes, you know, especially when you're going past on the train. You can tell that they're just hills, not mountains, but when you see just how high they are, when you get to the top, you can appreciate the height that you've come already. We're heading over that way towards Broadbottom, and then a little bit further over the other hump there would be Glossop and Hadfield in the distance. But our initial next stage is to head up to those two spikes you can see in the distance, which is two radio towers of some kind past the golf course. Never understood the appeal of golf. What a strange place, right at the top of the hill here, to have a golf course. I suppose you can have a golf course anywhere. It is a particularly hilly one though, and there do seem to be a fair few groups of people going around it, but I don't see the point. They'd probably say, you know, I mean, well, let me ask you then, what three things do you think, if you're a golf fanatic, what three things summarise golf for you and why it's so good? Relaxing maybe? Satisfying? If I want a satisfying sound of a plonk of a ball going into a hole, I'll go and have a relaxing pint in a pub and play a game of pool. So, finally made it to the top. You can see the radio mast just behind you there. Come to Little Road, and the golf course obviously continues the other side of the road. Whether it's just there to service the golf course or not, I don't know. And then, as far as you can see into the distance, down towards Manchester over there and the surrounding suburbs. It's just amazing the view that you can get from the top. And most of these tops, you know, you can see in most directions from most of these tops. Slightly better quality of the front camera, but it still may not pick out what I can see with my naked eye, which is the tower blocks and the apartments and businesses of Manchester CBD in the distance, just behind those guys where the golfers are. Yeah, so you can just about make out the central business district of Manchester and the suburbs as they stretch out. It's almost as if the Pennines, the barrier that the Pennines forms has made a natural ending point to where Greater Manchester can spread to. Anyway, on with my walk, which is going to be down this little road behind me to start with, probably on the other side of this wall where the path is, in case any more idiots come past, and then downwards ho, as nobody says. I'm really glad that I did the walk this way round. On a previous video, which I may make, I haven't decided yet, I did the walk from Broadbottom over to Marple, literally the other way round, and I'm glad I did it this way. Made a slightly earlier start for a few reasons, partly because Rabbins Park and Ethro Country Park with the lakes there was so busy, you know, when I got to that at the end of the day. So my recommendation to anyone else that does this walk, and I'll try and remember to start linking maps of my walks in the description below so you can go and check them out. I just went onto the internet and said, can I walk from Broadbottom to Marple? And the answer was yes, and somebody had posted a walk. Nice clear instructions, and I'll try and link to that downstairs. But I'm glad I did it this way round, slightly earlier start, midweek as well. Obviously that makes a big difference. Places like country parks and water parks are always going to be busy with weekend tourists, you know, especially if it's weather like it is today. So that was a good move, A nice tranquil descent now down to the river valley again, back down to the river valley, the Ethro, and wind our way back up into Broadbottom. And I'm really hoping, in fact, that there's a good baker's or chip shop or something like that in Broadbottom, because in my rush this morning to get out early, and then the train was there waiting at the station for me when I got there. Literally had 60 seconds to get to the platform after I bought my ticket, and I didn't have time to buy any or prepare any lunch. Got a flask of coffee and some tea, which will do me, and I always keep a couple of Snickers, you know, or marathons as I like to call them. Good old days. Should get the old name back, right? Got a couple of marathons, a bag of nuts. I always keep those as sort of emergency supplies in my bag. So I'll have a little munch in a minute, but I'm looking forward to something being open in Broadbottom that I can, because I'm getting quite hungry now. Fish and chips would be good. Of course, another thing that's just crossed my mind as I'm taking the weight off my feet for 5 minutes, having I was going to say lunch, but a couple of handfuls of peanuts and a well worth it cup of coffee is, and this is maybe only applicable to a few people, but as you're probably aware, I live more or less bang smack in the middle of Manchester city centre, but the surrounding districts of Greater Manchester are all well provided with buses and trains and trams, you know, to get in or out of the city centre. And one thing that I only discovered today is that you can, with the train ticket which I got, which I think most of the journeys that I make locally to the Pennines at least seem to be Northern. That's the name of the rail company that provides those services. And the problem is that if you go out on different lines, so for example, I went to Marple today, that's a different line to the line that I'm coming back on from Broadbottom. And the problem that can cause is that you might have to buy one ticket to go out and then another ticket to come back, and that can be almost twice the price of just a normal bog standard return ticket, even though it's with the same company, just on slightly different lines. But if you're not aware of it, there are ways that you can get around it. So today I got it's called a day pass or something, or a day 1 day journey with Northern kind of pass, you know. So just when you go and buy your ticket, make sure you ask the lady behind the desk, or man, because they will help you out. And the lady this morning, I think it was £7 odd for an all day use Northern as many times as you like kind of thing, you know. And they do similar things on the trams as well, but they obviously don't have quite as an extensive network as the trains. So yeah, inquire if you can get a day pass, a rail card for the day, or there's some kind of thing. I'm sure most companies do it. And boy, it would be nice, wouldn't it, to have a beer when I get back in a minute. I've actually thought about, you know, since lockdown, I've thought about bringing a few beers with me, but the problem is I'm not going to drink beer at the beginning of the walk, because I'd be all over the place, you know, and it would be dangerous apart from anything else. I'd rather have a beer at the end, a nice refreshing cool pint of ale at the end as a reward, you know, for doing such an immense journey. And until pubs open again in a couple of weeks' time, I guess it's just going to have to be try and find a off license. Beer would be warm, wouldn't it? If you bought a can with you or a bottle, it'd be warm by the time you got to the end anyway. Whiskey, there's the answer. Not cold enough though. So it's at this point where my path takes me down to the river Ethro one final time before I make my way back up to Broadbottom. Lovely tranquil spot here where I just had the last of my coffee and spoke to my mum. It's always a sad moment when a walk is nearly ended. But I'll be looking forward to coming back here again sometime in the future. Soon, hopefully. Let's hope this weather holds out. Must be lovely to live around here, to be able to afford it, or maybe your house has been passed down through the generations. Look at that lovely row of cottages there. Doorways. You can always tell when something's really old because the doorways are much shorter. Not built for today's tall people, although I'm not one of those. Oh, look at that. Can you just see that? Just about make out the date stone on there. 1676. Wow, that's pretty old. 350? Is that right? Amazing. Just to live here would be just amazing. All of this on your doorstep. Smell of garden smoke over there. Birds tweeting. Little robin on the compost heap. Idyllic. Last little stretch. Down and then up to Broadbottom Station. even as I make my last little few steps up the hill towards Broadbottom itself, everywhere you look, there's just relics now of an industrial age gone by. I'm sure there'll be a plaque somewhere telling me what it was, but amazing. The archways and the tunnels and the remnants of building foundations. Just makes you wonder what the hell is going on here, and why did it come to such an abrupt end?